Reintegration. Almost harder than integration, I think. Because when you're integrating a new plan or a new nutritional or fitness or job, or when something's new and you're trying to integrate into your life, that's a challenge. There's new things happening. Those are the things that get us excited, yeah? However, when you're in reintegration, you know what's good for you. You have a good plan. You know how to do it. You know why you're doing it. And you know when you're doing it. You have everything you need. Yet for whatever reason, you've slipped off the path and you're not doing it. So now you must reintegrate the things that you know that serve you back into your existence. However, what will happen is our negative belief systems and our negative patterns and all the things that rule the demons in our mind, they'll fight against you to reintegrate what's good for you. So sometimes I think reintegration of positive patterns and reinforcement could be a little bit more difficult than integration because the novelty's not there. However, that's what this podcast's about this week, guys. It's reintegration. Sat back down with Daniel, who was a bit of a full circle moment because he was the last podcast that was recorded in the studio, and so I figured he should be the next one as well. Really cool. I love chatting to Daniel. He's a little bit left of centre like myself, and we think about things a little bit differently. It was a good conversation and a good one to come back into. And as part of the reintegration process, I've been up, 3 mornings this week, early in the morning, either working out, going for a ride, or pulling the refinery or the House of Pain back together. I've added a few new elements and, looking forward to the weekend. I'm going down to Mullumbimby to hear Richard Patterson talk about Australia's Stonehenge. Apparently he has some new evidence, and I'm very fascinated to see what that is and whether or not it is actually strong evidence. Look, I'm completely open-minded. I really hope it is. However, I was backed up by one of the coders last night that, as far as we thought, it was pretty much destroyed in the 40s. Did exist, however, destroyed in the 40s. We'll do a podcast after that one to capture our thoughts and, whatever evidence is presented to us, so that should be very cool. I think, because I already mentioned demons in my mind, we'll open this one up with demons in my mind, and let's end with bathe in the sun. Thanks very much, guys. I really appreciate your time, your patience. It is good to be back on the mic and looking forward to the future. Good on you guys. We'll talk soon. Cheers.
Have I burned out? Have I blackened the ground? Will I fight back, find my strength again? Days have been gold, tomorrow losing their shine. Will I give up? I doubt it. I never turn to the bottle to wash away the demons in my mind. I stood up and knocked them down. Though I had a struggle till I seen the colored eyes of the kind. Now they have built me up. I've always had the answer. I'm not one to self-destruct. There's too many smiles that I love. And when my world comes crashing down, I get right back up. I take the brunt, I walk out of the road. Have I burned out? Have I blackened the ground? Will I fight back, find my strength again? Days have been gold, but tomorrow losing their shine. Will I give up? I doubt it. I never turn to the bottom to wash away the demons Have I burned out? Have I blackened the ground? Will I fight back, find my strength again? Days have been gold, but tomorrow losing their shine. Will I give up? I doubt it. Will I give up? I doubt it. Will I give it all away? No way.
Mate, how are you?
Yeah, I'm really good, mate. It's been a while.
So we meet again. Well, you were actually the last person that was in this studio to record a podcast, which was like 3 months ago now.
Yes. I know. It kind of feels like yesterday for me, though. Like,
Look, it's been a hectic, pretty fast 3 months. I wouldn't have said it was 3 months either, however it is.
yeah.
And when we sat down, I had a whole nother period of chaos into my existence in between when we last sat down and now. And we last sat down, we spoke about moving forward through adversity, because I was facing my own set of adversity at the time, and I think you were as well, and we were discussing strategies to deal with that. And it was actually a pretty good conversation. So, and what we want to talk about tonight, as it turns out, is reintegration, which unknowingly is a part 2 to the conversation we had last time.
Yeah, absolutely. We had no idea.
No.
Totally not planned
No.
at all.
No.
But
And we
it's,
sat down to
it's
discuss
like a
it.
part 2.
Yeah, we sat down to discuss it tonight. It's like, hang on a minute, this is actually a continuation of the conversation we had before. Because reintegration, especially after moving through adversity, is very... Would you say it's the more difficult part? Because you have to... And look, I understand it probably very close to home because I'm in the middle of reintegration. This conversation is part of my reintegration. Because you know, if you're in a position where you know what is going to make you better and you can understand it objectively in your mind, actually doing it is a completely different animal. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I love the way you put that, man. Yep, beautiful. Exactly.
Yeah.
So integration, right? Yeah, that's right. You have to be it, right?
Yes.
Whatever it is, you have to actually be it.
Mm.
You can know about it,
Mm-hmm.
but being it is like the next step.
Yeah,
so
well, you've got to practice. Well, for us, it's about practicing what you preach.
exactly. And you'll see it a lot on Facebook, on social media. Like, I'm really happy that like so many people love to share, some really uplifting and positive stuff. But at the end of the day, you don't want it to just lift you in the moment. You might need that as a first step. Sometimes, you get the perfect message and it's in alignment and it can help you shift emotionally. But, we need to do more of a larger, expanded, energetic shift than just that. We really need to, put some things into action and put one foot in front of the other.
Yes.
So we need to, what integration actually is, to simplify it, is bringing whatever it is in the moment into your being. That's
true, and
not human beings, but human doings.
Okay, yeah, but it's reintegration as well. So it's actually applying.
Yeah, it's
what
like
you know.
We already know this.
Yeah,
and it's like we need to do it.
Yeah, well,
we have the tools.
Yeah, exactly. We have the tools, right?
Yeah.
Just everyone, we have got the fan on in the studio tonight. It's quite a warm spring night, so if there's a little bit of a drone in the background, I'll try and clean it up in post. However, we don't want to be it's not a sweat box. However, reintegration, again, like you say, we know this stuff, and I suppose, like, I know that you know, and you know that I know that you know that I know that you know.
Yeah, I think I got that.
You know?
Yeah.
So
Keeping up.
when you are in that adversity, which we will face from time to time for different reasons, once you, as you say, once what we spoke about last time, we start moving forward through that adversity using mindset. And as you say, you might get some motivational step-ups, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
However, the words on the page and the thoughts aren't doing.
Anything in life, nothing, you can learn as much as you want, but nothing is going to stick unless you really apply yourself.
Yeah, unless you apply it practically.
Then you get caught in a cycle or a pattern, and you keep asking yourself, okay, why isn't this working? When you feel like you're having Groundhog Day, and you see the patterns, like a lot of us aren't really ready to take full responsibility for ourselves.
No.
For what we are, for who we are, okay, for responsibility for every single thing that's happening in our life.
So just to pull you up there for a second, what we are, who we are, there's two very important questions. Probably the most important of those two is who we are, or who are you. You want to freak someone out, ask them who they are.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay,
yeah, we'll do it.
And you got to. The caveat is, it's not your job, it's not your car, it's not your house, it's not what you do. It's nothing to do with your day-to-day life. It's who you are. Who are you? And yeah, some of the looks that you'll get when you propose that question to someone is it's quite alarming. I think a lot of us are avoiding who we are. And I think that's when either integration or reintegration of the things that we need to do to make us better, that's what makes it difficult. It makes it difficult because we're avoiding who we are and what we are. And it's a question that it's one of the eternal questions. What are we and who are we?
Yep. So yeah, that's really out there question, and I don't think spending all day long thinking about that is the true sense of integration, right? I see integration as being a part of the substance of reality, not just talking about it, not just getting more wisdom and becoming more conscious. I think that's all really important to me. That's the thing that I'm all about, is gaining more self-awareness. Yeah. But you don't want to dwell there, right? No. Well, you don't want to get stuck there. You need to go out and you need to be able to create as well.
I think there's two sides to knowledge, right? So there is theoretical knowledge, where, as you say, you read all the books, you contemplate your own navel, you are in your mind continually self-analyzing and self-obsessing and blah, blah, blah. And then there's practical knowledge, where you've actually put that stuff into practice. And I think true knowledge is a mix of both. Okay, you must have the theoretical knowledge in order to apply the practical. However, if you don't do one without the other, it may not be true knowledge, because you don't have the understanding of both sides or both perspectives. And I think when you're trying to reintegrate or integrate something new into your existence, even though you know it's good for you, a lot of us, the thing that we know, in inverted commas, is not the positive. It's the negative mindset and the negative patterns that we know best. So even though you can sit there and go, I know this, the classic one is if someone comes to you for advice and you give them like pearls of wisdom that have come down from the heavens, right?
Yeah.
Yet if you had the same problem in your life, you would, wallow in the mud like a pig.
Maybe, but that's a human thing to feel a part of it all, to feel like we have a place in existence. You want a second reference point. You want some validation. So, that's why we need other people in our lives. Like, we might be thinking it, but just hearing someone validate you can give you acceptance on where you are right now. So the first step, that's the first step in, integration. Like if you're struggling with that, and you can't even get to that point, you need to actually accept where you are. So something we want to talk about later on the podcast is, something I call the identity gap. So,
why later? Why not now? Tell me about the identity gap.
Well, I thought you might want to finish talking about what we were first. I don't know if we're like derailing, but I think that's what we do here.
There's
right?
there's no derailing. We are having a conversation, and it takes its turns and twists, and we're in the rabbit hole now, man. It's over.
Probably because I feel like we could have said like 20 million other things.
Well,
and there's so many tangents.
Exactly.
The rabbit holes go everywhere.
Exactly. There's so many tangents. So, but we are talking about what we are, who we are. So the identity gap is, it's not a bad, it's something we can talk about. So and we actually avoided talking about this before we turned the mics on. So tell me about the identity gap.
So there is who you are now. When you're sitting like, down alone and stuff, okay, you could be, it's like who you are and who you want to be. You basically dream yourself up, right? We don't, we can get stuck in the past by all means, but most of us are dreamers. We have goals, we have ambitions, or we have experiences that we really, would like to have in this lifetime. I think that's pretty normal for everybody. But what happens when we start like trying to be that person, right now, but we haven't taken the steps? And then you start, so you
like
start
running before you walk, sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So what happens is if you just know there's this future version of you, okay, you need to chase that version of you. You're not that version right now. You can't just like, take one big leap and, do a 10-kilometer leap and bang, you're there. Like you need to find a path to get to there. Okay. So if you start trying to be someone that you're not, even if it is, really possible and likely if you take the right steps in life to become this dream future version of you, it's like if you start trying to be that, it's like this rubber band. There's this snap back effect, okay? If you try and start dieting, okay, and you make this huge drastic change in your diet and you quit smoking, you quit drinking, right? You give up all the bad habits because you've just made this decision that you are going to start living, out who you are meant to be. That's the identity gap. It's going to like have this snap back effect. It's going to try and pull you back into who you are because your egoic mind says this is who you are. This is what you are. You're not that. You are a creature of habit, right? So we all have these focal points, right? These things that we focus on. So they could be addictive in nature. And when we talk about addiction too, I think that everything is on a scale. Basically, it's like a level, okay? We're all somewhere on it.
Yes.
Right. You might be at level 10, which is like the worst.
Is this an idea you have put together yourself, or is this something you've read about, the identity gap?
No. I've been doing a lot of reading. Okay, I've been learning a lot of motivational stuff recently.
Yeah.
And
because you've actually, without us having the conversation, stumbled upon one of the very foundation ideas that we had in the beginning of this podcast, right? And it's basically the scale. Okay, we called it the scale of enlightenment. Right? Yeah. So on one end, there is a sheep, sheeple, I call them, right?
Yeah.
The lower vibration, whatever they are, people, okay? On the other end is enlightenment. Sleepers, there you go, that's fine. On the other end is enlightenment, for the want of a better term, okay? Something
woke.
That's...
You're woke as fuck.
Yeah, woke as fuck, mate. Now, you'd want to think that you are somewhere in the middle, right? That's what we'd like to think that. Sometimes we're a bit further towards the sleepers than we'd like to admit. However, if you, and like you say, if you were to have, let's say, a psychedelic experience where you've had the right set and setting and it shifts your mindset, and you, as you say, you have an extreme reaction, your baseline, wherever your baseline actually is actually who you are. But what inevitably happens, the rubber band effect, and that's why I laugh when you said rubber band, because that's the analogy we used. A rubber band, when a rubber band snaps back, it just doesn't go back to where it was. It actually goes back past where it was.
Yeah.
Right. So when you have a massive leap that you weren't ready for,
it's like you missed a lesson. It might have been an emotion that you didn't deal with, a trauma, or a tragedy, or something.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what the aim of the game is, and what a lot of the conversation have been about, both here in the studio, and a lot of the stuff I talk with me and Frank have talked about, is shifting your baseline, right? So when you take a leap forward, if you take steady steps forward, as you say, integrating along the way, understanding that in a step-by-step process you can integrate your learnings, and even when you take those giant leaps, you take them and have them from an observational perspective. So when you inevitably fall, which you will, because that's what happens, when you rebound, your base level is moved closer. So each time you leap forward, or each time you take you have an experience that pushes you forward, when you fall, you don't fall back as far, which is about what we're talking about, is integration and integrating the lessons and closing up the identity gap between who you want to be, or who you truly are, and who you are now. Do you, and I had a question, did you believe that your higher self is your guidance and is the best version of you? Is that how you would interpret that? Because that's my interpretation of it, is that we are like a three-part being, and your soul, or your spirit, the energy that animates you from the universe, is technically the best version of you and wants the best for you. However, sometimes it just shakes its head and goes, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like,
no, I don't think. Well, I've had dreams where I've actually had meetings in dream time with my higher self and conversations, and it got to the point. So this is a little bit woo-woo, bit out there, but I would just sit down and meditate, and I would just set an intention to connect with my higher self. But I would get the visuals come through. So, there's a lot of different types of meditation out there, okay? But if you are doing guided meditation, you might be guided to look at some visuals. A good meditation, what I'm trying to describe, is like when you actually just let go and watch what colors, swirl around your mind. And the more that you do it, you'll start seeing pictures, and then next thing you know, you might be like having some conversations, with other aspects of yourself. But for me, meeting my higher self as an event, it was a dream time event, and there was like two versions of me. I was like sitting before myself, like completely humbled. So, was there that just happened, man? Like my experience was my higher self having that experience was like my higher self was just like happy and chilled out, and so much bigger.
So it is the best version of yourself.
That was the experience that I had.
Yeah.
Like,
would you interpret it as
I
that?
think I think that's probably easiest analogy to stick with. For a lot of people, it's a little bit more tangible, but like you can go somewhere with that. My ultimate belief is that there is no end. Your higher self, it goes beyond that. Like you are the whole universe, yeah. And the universe is you. You're basically a focal point of the universe. How
I like to put it, to try and get people to grasp it, is that you are the most powerful creator that has ever existed, ever. However, at the same time, you're a drop in the ocean forgot about. So you are everything, and you are nothing. all at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. Every single thing that you can think of, like, is a paradox. Everything is everything. That doesn't even
nothing
make
is
sense. You
nothing.
really need to meditate on that, like, to actually even try and grasp that concept, like, at some deeper kind of awareness, some deeper level.
Yeah.
But, like, when you think about, like, the chicken and the egg, I use this all the time, but, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Well, my belief is they co-created each other. There was a desire, and it happened.
This is a completely different tangent. However, I don't particularly care.
We're gonna cover all ground.
Do you think there is a grand creator? God, for the want of a better term.
Wow, this is going out there. So, look, it was actually last time here we sat and we did a meditation together after the podcast. And I, like, for anyone that knows me, like, and some of the groups that I share in, I'm pretty out there. I have groups where I just talk about self-awareness and consciousness, and basically work from wherever you're at. But I also have, like, groups where I, like, talk about some really, really, really out there stuff. Okay. Well, this like this experience, this meditative experience, was kind of a transcendent experience for me. I really expanded, and this happened a few times to me. I've just been sitting in public place even, and just, like, set an intention, like, I want to see more, I want to experience more. I expand out. I can actually feel my chakras for people who are, on the same level, and up there, like, consider their chakras as a part of their being, and sort of have gone down that pathway in spirituality. But I could feel them as tangible things expanding, and it's like my whole consciousness just sort of expands out of my body, and I just perceive things in a very expanded state. But what I've seen is there is really only mainly two main things, like, there's so much, but just two main things that I would focus on, and that is the source energy and these, like, what I'll describe as quantum mirrors with an infinite amount of sides, right, constantly spinning. And you might even, like, maybe that is the atom, but I've seen them as an infinite mirror, like infinity sides, and in rows and rows and rows and rows and rows. The source, it's like the source is looking into these mirrors, and that's how it views itself. We are both. We are physical, the mirror, or perception of physical, because we know that the atom is basically space, empty space mostly. So
yes and no.
We're perceiving it as solid things. Yeah. But when you can break an atom down, like, infinite amount of times.
Yeah, well, it's infinite. It's infinite within, and it's infinite without.
Yep. And that's why everything.
And the mirror thing is an interesting analogy, right? So again, just by happenstance and chance, I don't think we've actually discussed this, but another one of the founding ideas of this podcast,
we might have to change the title,
was the disco ball.
Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah, that's good.
Right. So the disco ball has got all the little tiny mirrors on it. Right?
Yeah. It forms a circle. It forms a
sphere of mirrors. What you want to try and do is gather and be able to look at things in an observant state from so many perspectives. So you want to add what we say tiles to your mirror ball. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Every time you can bring in a perspective that you may not agree with, or you may not think is true, or whatever it is, it's still a perspective. If you can bring that into your existence and look at it objectively and add that to your mirror ball, therefore, the next time something happens to you, the more tiles you have on your mirror ball, the better you are able to deal with it, because you've seen things from so many different perspectives. You have the ability to perceive and judge and analyze it from almost like an observant or an objective state. So so through your journeying, or through your your traveling and meditation, is almost, it's interesting. It's almost like confirmation that we are the source. You are God. We are God. I am God.
Yeah, I think that we're all source. We're all part of both. Part of what I'll call the mirror or the atom. Okay, the reflection of light. Okay, and then the creational source. The source is basically the energy, but it can't work without the mirror. It needs to be able to perceive itself. But what happens is it filters down into focal points, and we are those focal points. We are those different focal points of pure consciousness, of pure source, having, to formulate every possible experience.
Yeah. So do you think we're experiencing this three-dimensional plane because we don't have full access to the higher source, our higher self? Well, we could, I suppose. However, we still only use 14% of our brain or something like that, I think they say now. And the pure source energy that is technically animating us, if we were to discuss it like that, is the aim of the game to try and be as close as you can be to that pure source, that higher self?
You need to be both. So I also see it as how some ancient cultures may have seen it with yin and yang and about having balance. If you are just pure source, okay, it's kind of we're really going to go off tangent here, but
doesn't matter.
This is pretty cool.
Yeah,
this is a cool conversation. So the Greek have a story, okay, about Narcissus or Narcissus, however you want to pronounce it, and he was always looking at his reflection in the water, and then there's this girl, and her name's Echo, okay, and she is always calling out to him, but he can't see her. He's totally unaware that she's there. She's always trying to get his attention. She falls in love with him, but he can't see her. This is like masculine and feminine, and it has nothing to do with gender. It has nothing to do with being a guy or being a girl. But, if you connected with your feminine energy, I think that's more of the creator aspect of the energy. The mirror is more of the doing part. That's more of a masculine part of the energy. And, you want balance. You want an equal amount of both if you can achieve that in one lifetime. If you have too much feminine, you're not going to take action. You'll always be casting an echo. But if you're too much in your masculine, you're not so much aware of everything around you and the broader perspective. You end up in a state of just doing. You might be just doing for others and not understanding them. So you need to...
And not doing for self as well.
You need to, I think ideally you want to have an equal of both. And you'll see that in psychology, okay, and psychiatry, there's actually a theory that one psychologist in particular came up with, and it was a magnetic theory of why people attract each other. So at the very, very, very opposite ends of the spectrum, and we're talking about spectrum, we're talking about polarity.
Yeah.
So at the very end, you've got so you've got a plus and a minus allocation for people. If you're a +5, you're at one very end of the spectrum. If you're -5, you're at the other end of the spectrum. And this is between, people pleasing and appearing as selfish. So +5 would be super, super selfish, and we'd start using the labels like narcissist and that. And at the other end would be codependent, the -5, look at me, and that's the echo. And due to maybe we look at it like social engineering a lot and blame social engineering, but a lot of the feminine energy, whether guy or girl, I don't really care, because there's male and female people who have these qualities. It has absolutely nothing to do with gender.
No.
But they always attract each other. They always attract the balance. If you're a balanced person, you're going to be more likely to be attracted to another more balanced person. If you were at a -5, you'd be more attracted to the +5. And
opposites attract, sort of thing.
Yeah. If you're a -3 and you ended up with someone who's like a +5, you probably wouldn't stay in that. You have enough self-love, you're not that dependent, because everything is on a spectrum.
You talk about, so there's a few things there, right? So you talk about balance and attraction. There was a study that they did. There's like, why are we attracted to who we're attracted to? It's even from a biological level, right? So what they did is we all have pheromones and we all have imbalances in us. And the people that we're ultimately attracted to balance us out. They have what we don't and we have what they don't.
Yeah.
Okay. And what they did, this study was they got guys, because this is from a pheromone level. Okay. So basic body smell. And they got they got a heap of guys to basically wear a t-shirt for like a week with no showering, no nothing, right? Stunk it right up, okay? Which is your body odor and whatever else. And what they did was then they brought a bunch of women in and they tested these women for their levels, their pheromone levels and their plus and minus of mineral deficiencies and all that sort of stuff. And what happened was these women went, and all they could do, they never saw the men, right? But they were there to smell the t-shirts.
Yeah.
And to see whether or not
I've heard about this.
they'd be attracted.
Yeah.
And what it turned out is that the women were attracted to the men who balanced them out hormonally and like biologically, right? So from what you're talking about is there is definite achievement of balance, but what they also found out is that women that were on the pill could not distinguish the right smell. What they were attracted to did not match them. So it's interesting that you say that, how polar opposites attract.
I did a post just quite a while ago on this subject, attraction, and listed like all the different, there's a lot of different attractive factors. So
attractive factors.
Yeah, made up word just now on the spot. That was not in the post.
That
it's
goes
being edited.
That goes. We had a theory ages ago that we're actually going to create an unlocking the code dictionary.
Yeah. You introduced me to that.
Yeah, for all the words that we make up during the.
What if I want to paint in that?
You can have attractive factors, mate.
I'm sure it's done. I'm sure it's been done. Just add it to your dictionary. It's fine. It's yours.
So, what are the attractive factors?
So, basically, I've got them written down. I'm just going into it. I'm cheating now.
You're cheating. You're using technology to assist you.
This is only off the top of my head, okay? Like my own sort of theories on things from stuff I've looked at, and I'm a bit of a person that like sort of grabs everything and sticks everything together, like connects a heap of dots and that kind of thing. So you got physical attraction. So psychology talks about like physical attraction, and usually they base it on like based on childbearing ability, being able to like raise a child and that. So we've also got like protection and safety features, like strong jaw lines and maybe darker brooding eyes looks more
alpha features,
So, and we've got the magnetic attraction. So we're just talking about that. That's the energetic polarization, the give and the take. Who likes to give more? Who's more open to receiving? Okay, so we've got in every relationship, someone's more likely to be, more of the people pleaser, and it's like, everyone says, well, we know who wears the pants in that relationship, right?
Yeah.
And women probably say it's the man, and men probably say it's the woman.
I know, I'm pretty sure the women say it's them and we say it's them, I don't guess.
Well, maybe that's true. So yeah, and you've got, you know, who's really driven and serious, and who's like super content and relaxed. They really do balance each other out. That's yin and yang, and opposites attracting. You've got personality attraction, right? It's really really important that people have shared values.
Yes.
If people don't have shared values, so that's something that comes later. That's not an initial attraction. That's something you'd learn down the track a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, but there is the studies, like the smell study that I was talking about, sort of suggests that sometimes the first level of attraction would be physical. You know what I mean? From a physical sense, I think that person is good looking or whatever, and they can provide me what I need or something like that, you know.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting too, like, so talking about masculine, feminine, to sort of bring it off the attraction side of things, bring it back to self, bring it back to integration. Part of that is understanding, like the best analogy that I like, especially for men, because it is relatable, and it's something that I spoke about to a good mate of mine today, is the Book of Five Rings. Okay, so Miyamoto Musashi wrote the Book of Five Rings, and basically he describes that, you know, every boy at some stage wanted to be a samurai. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Samurai sword, right? You know, I mean, I had the dodgy samurai swords in one of my bachelor pads back in the day, right?
I think I had a couple of sets,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, everybody did. Bought the $100 set from the markets just because they look cool.
Wow, that's expensive.
Yeah.
That was my second set. My first was only $50.
Yeah, you go up in stage.
Yeah.
But we all want to be a samurai, right? Because they're the ultimate warrior. However,
I still am a warrior with mine. Like, it's a hedge trimmer now.
I want to see that Facebook post. You hedge trimming with a dodgy samurai sword.
All right.
However, what he described was that before those men could even pick up the sword, is they had to master the five rings. Okay, but before they were the warrior, they were the lover, the father, the healer, and the artist. And then, and only then, once they had understood and mastered those other four aspects of self, which within that, like you were saying, could be the feminine side, the lover and the artist and the healer.
Yeah. Balancing yourself out.
Right.
Yeah.
It was only once you had understood and mastered those that you could truly be the warrior, because that is who we are as men. And I think one of the issues we have, and we had a pretty in-depth conversation about the older generation of men these days, they've lost sight of those values, whereas because you were and are still to a point applauded for being hardworking and, you know, no emotions, blah 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 blah. Whereas if you actually want to be a man, a true sense of the word, you must understand that you have all those things within you. And one of the best analogies I saw of that is, you know, I used to work on oil rigs going back in the day, and, you know, the toughest blokes you've ever seen, you know, farting, swearing, you know what I mean, the whole deal. And these blokes work hard, 12 hours a day, swinging the rigs, swinging sledgehammers. They, you know, the roughest, toughest blokes you've ever seen. And a couple of times, some of the boys, because we were close to home, brought their kids onto the rig, like little girls or little boys. And in an instant, you saw some of the toughest men you've ever seen turn into big old softies. As soon as they saw that little kid in a hard hat, right?
Yeah.
You know, they would have ripped your head off 5 seconds ago. This little kid comes up to them and asks them a question, and they are the softest person to that little kid. You know, how you going, mate? You know, you having a good time? You know what I mean? Like, I saw some of the toughest men I've ever seen turn into softies when there was a kid around, right? And that's the father. You know what I mean? And that's embracing other sides of self. However, I don't think, as far as integration, or when we understand this this version or this perception, reintegration, putting all those things into practice is very difficult because, I think we are, what's the word? Recriminated, or it's a negative thing in our society to be all of those things.
Yeah. It has been for a long time.
I think it's
seen a
changed.
lot of changing.
I think it is changing. Here's a question. Do you think, so I would say it's changing, you would say it's changing.
Can I just say this? I think that, like, you know, women have been pretty, I don't know, like, it depends what perspective you want to take, you know, they've been very suppressed in a male world.
Absolutely.
But you know, right now, like, the opportunities are becoming more and more, and have been, like, gradually over time. But, you know, a lot of more women are becoming fiercely independent and going after the job. They're actually pulling in more of that masculine energy.
Yes.
Now, I think it shifts the whole planet, to be honest. I
Yeah,
think
absolutely.
it shifts the whole polarity on the planet.
However, I think that needed to happen. I think women need
Yeah.
to embrace their masculine side, and I do think men as a whole need to embrace their feminine side more. They need to be...
Well, it's all about balance, yeah.
Yeah, like, no, I'm not saying,
Yeah.
you know what I'm trying to say. It is about balance. Yes. You know, we've all met masculine men, and we've all met effeminate men. You know, you need to be both sides. And look, I think, you know, we both work hard, you know what I mean, all that sort of stuff. We're very open to these concepts of femininity. However, let's be honest, before we turn the mics on, we were a bunch of cavemen, like,
It's true.
yeah, fucking around in the mics, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Doing all the deep voices, you know. However, now we're having a conversation about being...
Like little boys.
Yeah, like little boys,
Yeah.
right? But now we're having a
That's
conversation.
an inner child conversation.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
different again.
It is
Yeah.
different again.
Yeah. I don't have an inner girl. I've only got an inner boy.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know if I can change that.
No, and you probably can't. However, some men do have an inner,
Yeah.
you know, and like you say, it's not about gender, and gender's an interesting one now that I don't want to dig into gender right now. However, I think the bottom line of what we are saying is that it is about balance. It is about understanding multiple perspectives and being able to see that we all are a multi-part being that has a softer side, that has a harder side. There's always the light, there's always the dark. These things don't exist without each other. And in order to actually integrate or reintegrate correctly, you need to understand that you are all those sides.
Absolutely.
You know?
These guys, right, these hard-working, labouring guys, picturing them as extra super hairy as well.
Most of them are, yeah.
Yeah. I'll just throw that in there.
Yeah.
Just so people have, like, a visual, basically.
Yeah.
Storytelling, you know, it's important.
Well, look, a lot of hair is related to testosterone, so, you know, extra alpha.
Yeah.
Duff.
Absolutely.
They are hairy, yeah.
So, but when this kid comes along, right, okay, and you see them change, right, then the kid goes away, it's that rubber band, that snap back, okay, back to the same identity.
Yeah.
That both parts of them exist, but they can't always exist at the same time. Like, it's like not Jekyll and Hyde, but, like, you know, we're taking turns. It could be, in worst case scenario. We have all expressions walking the earth, don't we? But that's like perfect. Just looping back to what we were talking about before. The snapback effect, like, you will go back to what you know. So, you know, what if they wanted to integrate that, you know, more of that into their life? Like, you know, it would be hard to start being that person around other guys because there's social expectation there.
Yes.
But first thing you see, a guy who just can't take anymore, being trying to provide for a family, protect everyone, provide the security, okay, put a big slab of buffalo on the table and everything that he's been doing. But when it gets too hard, something in life happens, okay, it will break down. And the actual suicide rate is 4 times higher in men. And it's because there are emotions there. There is a feminine side that's always in existence, but it's
bottled up emotions.
There's a lot of repression.
Yes.
So guys could have a lot of problems like integrating, some things or moving forward into the future version of themselves, because there's just some stuff you need to not repress. You need to be able to surrender it up and let go of it to be able to move into this new version of you. If you're picturing that. Yeah. People who are picturing that, whether it's 5 years ahead in the future, 10 years, people who are actually visualizing that intentionally are probably into personal growth anyway.
Yeah, they are. There is a relentless personal growth aspect to what's going on in the wider community at the moment. So if you were to... We talk about moving forward, and we talked about mindset and how to change your mindset to move through that adversity. If you were to, let's say, begin to integrate, let's not say feminine, right? Let's say the softer side of the masculine energy.
Right.
Which isn't the rough, tough, fucking, how much do you lift? You know what I mean? It's not that side. It is it's the father. It's that person they are in front of that little boy who's, come to see the big bad rig. Would you, and look, I know I've tried to integrate it, have integrated it. Is it a matter of just not giving a fuck what anyone else thinks? Or is it a matter of changing your socio-economic group? Not economic, but your social group. Because I found it's quite interesting as I continued to try and integrate the 5-part being, like if we said the love of the father, the healer, the artist, and the warrior, as I started to understand the softer side of that, some of my social group fell away and was replaced, with blokes like yourself, mate, who can sit here and have a conversation about it. You know what I mean? So, but is it because if it was someone else, if there is their identity so wrapped up in their masculine energy or that that side of themselves, that it's a fear-based thing that they won't embrace that side? And what would you recommend for someone who's trying?
It's definitely it's an ego thing. It's a thing you got to get over, right? It's an imaginary wall. And, it actually takes a split second to get over it, but it's fear. And what's the fear? The fear is judgment, right? And it's usually fear of how other men are going to perceive us, because the caveman, right, it doesn't matter whether you were the leader. Like, you have to have a certain amount of bravado. And that's really important. But it is absolutely everywhere. And I lived that life, and when I look back, I see like, wow, I was like really in my ego. Like, I lived all from my ego.
Yes.
So I'm like, my whole life had to shatter and break down, and I went through rapid transformation. Yeah.
Which you shared it in the first podcast, the story of awakening, which there will be a part 2 to. We just not at the moment.
It's coming.
It's coming. It's in the works. Yes. And is it that rapid? It can be
fast or slow. Yeah. Like, it's really up to the individual, but having the tools to do that, but having the support, for me personally, on my personal journey, everything was taken away from me. Like, the universe did that to me.
Gave you a smackdown.
It was by design.
Yeah. Had to strip you back in order for you to embrace.
Absolutely. So yeah, and I just started meditating, and I'm like, I'd done it in martial arts, but all of a sudden, when everything in my life just shattered and went to shit and pieces, I just started doing things opposite to what I was doing. I started meditating, and I started connecting with, inside of myself, and just making all these discoveries. And I lived for freaking ages understanding all of these discoveries, but not really integrating it. I was still
Not
like
applying the knowledge.
having this, trying to keep up appearances, for social reasons and that, because, what guy is out there publicly, like, doing all the conscious stuff. And I just decided one day, I just made a decision, like, okay, I'm a changed person. I'm a different person. And a lot of like my group fell away anyway, right? So I'm not going to sit down and, remain ultimately lonely for the rest of my days. I'm going to step into, my new identity. So I was living in a snapback when there actually didn't need to be a snapback. Like I had actually evolved. I'd gone into a cocoon, but I wasn't ready to come out as a butterfly for a while.
When I realised that this was an interesting experience that I had and that I actually did, I sort of had a realisation that the people that I was associating with weren't serving me. You know what I mean? They weren't helping me on my journey. So what I did, and this is, we've already talked enough woo-woo tonight, we may as well stay down that track. I actually put out to the universe that I need some more friends that are better, that are actually true friends, that on the same wavelength as me, that are trying to make themselves better, that we can help each other. And that was a few years ago now, and I look around at the awesome bunch of brothers that I have that I could call at any time, and I have that now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you do get it, man. It's a wall. Yeah, it's definitely a wall that, and it's up to you. It's in your own time. You can chip away at it, or you can knock it down like a wrecking ball,
Because fear is an interesting one, though, isn't it? Because
it's fear of judgment.
That wall of fear. I've talked about this to my students, right? And the way I've described it, because it's a modern pop culture reference, is like the how we perceive fear is like the ice wall on Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? Like it's fucking massive. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, though, in a fair, I'm going to say majority of instances, there is nothing behind fear. It's all a self-generated, perception-based thing. Because if you're one of those people that have conquered your fears, then you find that actually what's on the other side of fear is happiness, is achievement, is a raft of positive reinforcement for you facing that fear. Now, that's not going to happen all the time. Sometimes you're going to face your fears and you're going to fall flat on your face. But then that's the difference is, and you've got to be aware of that. The thing about embracing fear is understanding that it may not work out. It actually, these things, something could go wrong, and that's courage.
It may not work out initially. It might be the second time around or the third time around, but that's it's persistence. But you learn tools through that, right? And you integrate them.
Yeah, you're not winning, you're not losing, you're learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I see it, yeah.
Yeah, and it's fascinating. The idea is, the more that I have this conversation with multiple different people, the ideas seem to be the ideas. You know what I mean? Like it is just different versions and different variations of these are the thought patterns, this is the perspective, this is, it's all the same idea. Technically, we're all chasing the same destination, which is, self-development, self-improvement. However, the ideas seem to be the ideas, and that's what fascinates me the more and more I have this conversation. I did want to just tack on to something you did say, where you said it's hard. Hard is an interesting word, and this is something that I've spoke with Frank about, is that if your mindset, your perception is something is hard, it's going to be too hard. It's easy to, if you can try and take hard, especially when you're reintegrating or integrating, because it is difficult However, at the end of the day, it's not that hard. You know what I mean? It's actually pretty fucking simple. This is what you need to do. 1, 2, 3. It's actually not that hard. It takes discipline and effort to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
However, the difficulty level of it, if you break it down to its simple 1, 2, 3, it's not that hard. And I think we have hard in our vocabulary as a word that allows us to back out of it because it's too hard then. Oh, it's hard. It's too hard.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do it. It's way too hard. How about taking hard off the table?
Yep.
And replacing it with effort and discipline and simplicity.
So, I mean, yeah, if there's something that you really want to achieve in life, okay, it's part of your values. So there's shit we just don't want to do, right? It's freezing cold in the middle of winter. We don't want to wash the car. We don't want to wash the dog for the 3rd time today because it's been up to some disgusting stuff, right? It's just stuff we don't want to do, right? Because it's not part of our values. But the stuff that's part of our values that we really want to do, we really want to achieve this goal, if we don't do it, if we can't find a way to do it, if we're saying it's too hard to do it, even though it might be a case of doing, that's when we can like get stuck in the wallowing, fall into a hole. Worst case scenario can look like depression. So we were talking about anxiety and depression earlier, and how anxiety is worrying about like the future. Depression, we can usually link it back to the past. But there's this other aspect of depression where you just feel like you're not good enough. You're not living up to this future version of yourself. You can see it in your head, but you don't know how to get there.
You're not even living up to the now version of yourself.
You've tripped me out.
And anxiety, I think, well, this is just my personal experience, having over the last few months experienced levels of anxiety that I didn't know that level of anxiety was actually possible. I surpassed and like went so far past any anxiety level that I thought was possible.
Is that anxiety or overwhelm?
Bit of both, right? See, my initial anxiety, I know I spent a long time working in the middle of the bush for a long time, right? So I never used to, when I was driving, I never used to see a lot of people. And even now, I don't like going into shopping centres. I don't like going in, we spoke about nightclubs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's too much. It's too many people. And I found when I came back from the bush and had like a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday job that I was stuck in peak hour traffic, I would experience anxiety in traffic where I would just freak out. Like I just did not want to be there. There was too many people there. I was anxious about the situation that I was in. Whereas the anxiety that I've experienced, and look, it was anxiety based in overwhelm, which is it's interesting you make that distinction there. It was definitely based in overwhelm. There was too much going on. But the anxiety almost had a noise to it. It was like a white noise. I could almost hear it, and my desire to run away from whatever situation I was in was very, very high.
Yeah.
So I definitely think some anxiety is based in, like you say, past or worrying about the future. However, there'd be many different levels of anxiety, I think. And depression is a lot of repeated patterns, I think, as well. I think a lot of what people would classify as depression coming from a long-term sufferer of depression over many years. Not that I realised that fully until, the last few years, because I was trying to unpack my existence and why the fuck I made some stupid fucking decisions and stupid thought patterns, and I was just not in a good place.
Mm-hmm.
It is... misery loves company.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's where depression is a well-worn path back to comfort. of not
yeah,
comfort,
well,
or,
it's
or
it's your known identity.
Yeah,
What your all of your associations, because we mentioned before, we're creatures of habit, and we're creatures of identity. Like, okay, so your neuroplasticity in your brain. Your brain is just like full of something called neuroplasticity, which basically means, think of neurons made of plastic that you can mold. It's moldable, and it gets remolded every single time that you make a change in your life.
yes, yes,
So you have the ability to change. You have the ability to become something else. So if you are, if you're still with us, then you want to reintegrate, like, back into something. Okay, you've lost your way,
Yeah.
right? You've lost your way.
You're in the bush.
But you had all these amazing tools and you're doing that. What were you doing when you were at the happiest point of your life? What was life like for you? What were you doing then that
Yeah.
made you smile?
Yeah.
What captivated your inner smile?
Yeah.
What was it? Was
Yeah.
it your newborn baby? Was it your new car that you got? Sometimes it's just we forget to be grateful for the things that we have.
Yes.
Gratitude can be a step towards reintegrating, okay?
Yeah. There is so much a reason as to why you're sitting in this studio. You are encapsulating pretty much all the basis ideas of everything that we've talked about for the last 2.5 years, right? We spoke about the neuroplasticity. That's a very scientific way to look at it, but how we used it as an analogy.
I try and simplify things a lot more. That's why I use a lot of metaphors wherever I can.
How we described it for people is that, especially with like negative patterns and all that sort of stuff, the well-worn, the comfortable, or being comfort in discomfort, the patterns that you retreat back to, it's like a 6-lane highway, right, in your brain.
Yeah.
It's clear as bell. As soon as this happens, this is going to happen. This is how you're going to react to it, and you're going to have this reaction and this reaction. It's all just like a big interstate highway. But what you need to do is grab the old D9 bulldozer, right, and carve another path through the bush, right? And that's you trying to change your perception, change your neuroplasticity.
Mm-hmm.
And each time that say you react, say you have a trigger word or a trigger emotion to a certain action, right? And it's a negative response and it doesn't serve you. So what you need to do is work on the next time that happens, whatever that trigger is, not to respond to it. And each time you don't respond to it, that track that's going through the bush becomes a dirt road. Then it becomes a nice paved road. And the 6-lane highway that used to exist, which sent you down your negative thought pattern, actually becomes smaller and smaller. So you are, as I say, through neuroplasticity, you are changing the pathways in your brain to make you, and the more you do that, the less chance you have of falling back into the old thought pattern, right? And the second thing you were saying is that, what did you used to do before life got you down?
Yeah.
You are sitting in...
What tools did you have?
Yeah.
And then you put the tools down and you said, this is life now, and you accepted that.
Yeah. And then
But deep down it's not good enough. But why are you not just picking up those tools again? What is that?
Here's just to stay on the tool analogy. Why can't you just be wearing the tool belt all the time? You know what I mean? You could.
Yeah, you put them down sometimes because, you want to grow, you want to learn, and sometimes you put these down because, if you're into personal growth like me, like yourself, you want new tools because that's where you find excitement in life. And you might go, okay, what other way can I go around this and stuff? And it can be really exciting, but then when you don't find the tools that you need, maybe you don't have enough money to seek the help that you need, and that's why you're listening to a podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, trying to look for, to extract some crucial information, right? Then, that's what we want to do, is give away some tools, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think...
Or help you remember the tools.
Yeah, help you remember the tools you have or provide you different tools. And that's why I like speaking to different people about this, because everyone has a different toolkit, okay? it may be the same. The goal seems to be the same. You know what I mean? The goal at the end seems to be the same. Doesn't matter which way I have this conversation. However, people may not resonate with the way that I deliver my toolkit, whereas they might resonate with the way you deliver your toolkit. It's probably the same tools. They're probably, you got Sid Chrome or Stanley, you know what I mean? Like, it's not exactly... However, it's the different versions and the different variations.
Just personally, I'll go Sid Chrome. Just a guy's perspective, but you have yours.
Sid Chrome.
I'll go King Chrome.
Chrome.
Why is Stanley on the board, though?
Because Stanley stepped their game up, man. I like Stanley tools. Anyway.
I actually like shopping at Aldi's for tools.
Oh, we just went down. We just speared off that track. However, look,
I don't think so. We were talking about tools, right?
Yeah, tools. Yeah,
Man's mental association.
We're probably being tools too, but
I hope so.
So, okay, so when you speak about what I think is a good thing to discuss again is the idea that you're saying, what were you doing? So what I say to people is, and this seems to be just a podcast of me rehashing and reintegrating and re-understanding a lot of the ideas that have come before, which is probably exactly what I need. However, what did you do? I ask people, what did you like to do as a kid? Before life got you down, what are the things that you used to do to escape as a kid that you used to have fun with, right? Now, for myself personally, I used to ride my bike everywhere, okay? I used to ride my bike everywhere. I lived on my push bike, in the bush, like I grew up in country Victoria, in the bush, everywhere, ride everywhere, right? Sitting outside this studio door is a mountain bike. That's what I do for fun now. I ride my mountain bike.
Yeah.
The other thing I used to do, because I grew up in Ballarat and Victoria and it was fucking cold, is I used to have this old 80s ghetto blaster. You know the ones, the big fucking ones, right? With the big speakers and all that sort of shit. But
I was just stuck on sensing a little bit of hostility there.
Hostility?
Of being fucking cold in Victoria.
Oh, yeah, because it was fucking cold.
You sounded really hostile there. I was sensing a little bit of
It's
hostility
bitterly
in the voice.
cold.
Yeah.
Bitterly cold down there.
You're not going back?
Oh, I love it down there. However, the weather just, it's
Right.
not. It's too cold, man.
Okay. It's probably fine now.
It's definitely not. I could probably bring the temperature up. I bet you it's like 2 degrees or some shit, and it's fucking November. However, me and my mates used to record each other telling jokes on a tape deck.
Right, that's old school.
Yeah. Well, it's the 80s, early 90s, mate. You know what I mean? However, so now you're sitting in the modern incarnation of the thing that used to make me happy.
Yeah, that's right.
And the modern incarnation of me being on my BMX everywhere is the bike.
Yeah.
So those are the two things that I chose for myself because it's important, as you say, being the provider, doing all that stuff, looking after family is very important. However, when you're integrating or reintegrating, you need to remember what it is you were doing for yourself to make yourself better.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think that's, if you're at the stage where you're lost as to what makes you better, think about what you used to do for fun as a kid, and as long as it doesn't hurt anyone, you know what I mean, no criminal activity,
Yeah. I used to collect flick knives.
Yeah. What about doing that? And I think what happens is, I'm too old. Bullshit. You're never too old.
Yeah.
That's a mentality thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's this part of you. So you got this like inner child aspect of you and the parent aspect, and you're both of them. It's like you really are two aspects here you have to like sometimes parent your own inner child. But would only be a parent aspect of you that would say, no, I've grown up now, I'm not going to go and do that. Right? So that's something you got to balance as well. Well, the inner child is like someone with Peter Pan syndrome. It's like, no, I don't want to grow up.
Yeah.
Right? So that's something else. It's on a spectrum of polarity.
Well,
so
it comes back to balancing them, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you want to, you've still got to pay the bills and do whatever you got to do. And however, at the same time, if you don't know how to let go and have fun, then you're never going to have any fun. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like I went on a date with my wife last night, and we went and spent $50 in the arcade playing video games and stuff, like we were bloody teenagers.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. She beat me in air hockey, but you know.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah, oh yeah. Don't
I'm really
start.
sorry to hear that. I'm proud of her though.
Oh yeah, she did well. Yeah, it was legitimate. It's okay. These
So
things
was
happen.
she like winning prizes for you, like the teddies and stuff, like at the carnival? And
Calm down. Settle down, sweetheart. No. I beat her at Daytona, you know, so it's okay.
Right.
It all balanced out.
yeah,
But you've got to be able to have fun. You've got to be able to release your inner child.
yeah.
You know, we should actually record some of that. We should use that as soundbite, some of the stuff we do on the mic before we actually sit here and try and be serious people.
I think we're just gonna have an unlocked and unleashed one day. Just
Yeah.
a collection of all the crazy shit
Yeah,
we get up to before a podcast. Unlocked and unleashed.
Unlocked and unleashed. I like that. I like that terminology. Do you know what is actually scary, though? Just so
Yeah.
you're aware, the next time you come here,
Yeah.
we'll have video.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I'll
Next
I'll
time
have
you
to
come
behave
here.
myself then.
No, well, that's the whole idea. We don't have to behave ourselves.
We don't.
No, because it's got the idea is, and I
Well-
think this little Aussie indie podcast continues going on is that it is genuine.
So, I mean, there's a lot of assumptions being made without video, isn't there? Like, you know, what are we wearing? Are we wearing clothes?
Yeah. After
Are we sitting on these little like hard wooden benches and
Yeah.
really uncomfortable?
Yeah, after we do the
No, we've-
obligatory social media selfie, we
Yeah.
take our clothes off to do the podcast. No,
Right, let's get started.
be free.
Yeah,
Um,
like free your inner warrior.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's all about balance.
So that's not happening. So
no,
everyone can you just wipe that out of your imagination. Do you
Yeah.
want to be on a podcast?
We'll just edit that out. Actually, we won't. Again, though, we talk about balance, right? So let's bring it back around. It would be, so even if we take what we're just talking about, even if we were to change the way that we do this, oh, sorry about that, I just nudged the microphone. If we were to change the way that we do this because there's now a camera on us, that is not balanced. We're not being genuine. We're not being actually ourselves. And isn't that what we're talking about?
No, well, you definitely will be. That is your goal, basically. Is to look like a real person in front of a camera with clothes on.
Are we not real people?
Yeah, I am.
Right.
I only speak for myself.
Right. Which self?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah.
That's trippy.
There's a party going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
We all hear voices. It just depends on whether we do what they tell us to do or not.
all right.
Let's bring this.
Let's go back to reintegration.
Let's reintegrate back to the
So-
conversation.
So, some time ago, you've been through this. I've been through this. I realised along some of my recent journey and in the last few months myself that mindset just wasn't enough. So I was working, overworked, and my body was pretty much underpaid. So after a long time in my younger years of, consuming foods that didn't really serve my body, having eczema when I was from puberty when I was younger, and I actually linked eczema maybe to leaky gut and stuff. So it's like if you have gluten intolerance and eventually the cell wall of your intestines basically starts letting stuff through, goes into the bloodstream, and it's like it comes out in your skin as like a rash, or there's many different forms that it can take on. Okay. But over a period of time of yo-yo dieting and stuff, so I basically ended up with adrenal fatigue. I started getting brain fog. I started like losing clarity. My vision was affected.
Do you think that's entirely? And obviously, the flora of your gut is very important. It does actually affect your mood, affects your disposition, your metabolism, all that sort of stuff. But do you think adrenal fatigue, because you are very much a person who is, what do we say, the duck on the pond? You know what I mean? You were very similar in that way. Just because you look cool and calm and collected on the outside, it's chaos underneath. Because I think some adrenal fatigue comes from that as well. Like you're constantly thinking and analysing and reacting but not reacting and stuff like that. And especially if you're working, like you say, your body was overworked and underpaid, and you're not pushing that energy to a positive intention or a positive action, you can then become fatigued too. Do you think that's definitely part of it? And
Adrenal fatigue is usually the adrenal glands actually kick in support of other things going on in the body, but it all starts.
It's a reaction, yeah.
It all starts in the gut. Starts with inflammation, which is usually from sugars.
Yeah.
Sugar is the major cause of inflammation. When you have too much sugar in your body, your pancreas has to make insulin, because insulin is basically the key that unlocks the door so that sugar can be utilized in the cells of the body. So,
and if you can't utilize it, it turns into fat.
That's right. It gets passed through the liver. Okay, so I ended up like with fatty liver over years of neglect, because when you're a kid, and we all do this, like we've all done this, and we treat people like kids and that with an ice cream, and we call that a treat. And a treat would be like an apple or a piece of broccoli or a boring old carrot. That would be a treat for the body, right? But as for like ice cream and stuff, like just basically pure sugar, oils and stuff. Just
you understand why we're attracted to that though, the sugar and the oils and stuff like that.
Well, absolutely. It's a faster energy source. The body can actually utilize sugar over fat as energy first, but it's basically just trying to get rid of it and get it out of the system first as well.
Yeah, but our addictive tendency towards sugar especially, and the fats, the trans fats and all that sort of stuff, comes from almost, it's part of our primitive DNA, whereas in the wild, when we were hunter-gatherers, we only would eat vegetables or meat every now and again.
Yeah, it was fats and proteins.
Yeah, but it'd be very rare that we'd come across sugar, you know what I mean, like a fruit or something like that. And when we would consume as much as we could, because it's a different thing.
That would have been like a high.
Yeah, exactly.
For you if you're caveman and found a fruit tree, smashed out like a whole bunch of mangoes.
Yeah, exactly.
Called it a day. It would be like the equivalent to being drunk.
Exactly. And now
sugar
we
high.
have 15 aisles in Woolworths dedicated to processed sugar and fats and stuff.
Yeah, so I recommend only shopping around the outside of the supermarkets. All the inside, I'd pretty much avoid most of that nowadays. I've really cleaned up like my diet a lot.
Yeah, you've lost, as I say, so it's been a few months. We spoke on the phone, but I haven't seen you in a few months, and you've definitely slimmed down since the last time I saw you.
Yeah, conscious eating.
Yeah.
So, like, it's also coming back to this, like, identity snapback, okay? So, basically, we talked about my spiritual awakening, part 1, did a podcast on that. It was my first podcast. I went through this crazy expanded experience in a very short time, and it kind of scared the crap out of me, right? I was like, whoa, man, the universe reality isn't what I thought it was. Who the fuck am I?
We're everything and nothing. There is nothing, but there's everything, and we know nothing, and we know everything.
No, we say that now. I wasn't there yet. I was just still flabbergasted, in shock, like what the fuck is happening to my reality's being turned inside out and all of that stuff. Anyone who has experienced like a spiritual awakening of where you just go through really rapid growth in a very short time. All I wanted to do coming out of that and getting that shock value was like go back to where I was. I wanted to crawl back into my safe shell, and I started trying to lower my vibration and shoving food in my mouth, and and it wasn't even all conscious. It was partly conscious, partly unconscious.
Well, a lot of it would have been subconscious because that has been your existence for so long.
Yeah, I felt very ungrounded during all of that. I felt like I was floating off the face of the earth, and I couldn't hold anything down because it was just, everything was trippy. So everything changed, and I had so many questions, and I couldn't let these questions go, but I had to find a way to ground myself, and it was through food. I lowered my vibration a lot through food and yo-yo dieting, but I wanted to feel good, right? If you went below the baseline, you want to feel good again, so you go on this little health kick, right? And it might last 3 or 4 weeks or something, but then it's like, oh mate, I'll just have that pizza and beer night, and then and next thing you know, it's like cakes, sugar, flour, all of these things that is hard for your body to actually process and digest.
The test is is it not to avoid that rubber band effect that we've been talking about pretty much the whole time? You have to keeping something up for all the time. I think about The Rock, right? The Rock. Have you seen The Rock's cheat meals? Follow him on Instagram. The Rock's cheat meals are legendary. It's like 25 cookies and fucking a gallon of milk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he does that once a week, but that's part of his discipline. Like he's a machine.
Yeah. He's got ultimate discipline to do that, and stick to that. So he's probably hacked his mind a lot through different tools, mindset tools. He's done a lot of personal growth. Dwayne Johnson suffered from depression for a long time. His mum
absolutely. His stories,
depression.
His story's pretty amazing, and he's actually in the middle of executing a plan. His plan was to be the highest paid actor on the planet.
Okay.
He's actually in the middle of that, and he's doing exactly what he said he was going to do.
Yeah.
And it's been a plan, and it's actually, the discipline that guy has is next level.
Yeah.
Is that not the key though? Is discipline if we were to wrap up reintegration or integration of positive aspects into your life, is not the key to the whole shooting match? Is it not discipline?
It's discipline. It's making like a pact with yourself, valuing yourself, believing in yourself enough that you can create that change, and bringing in that awareness. You've really got to anchor in that awareness and have that expected. This is how you defeat the identity gap, okay? This is how you bypass that rubber band, okay? And you go to your dream version of you. You do it in steps, you do it in stages, but when you feel, you're aware that snapback is there. You're aware at some point your brain is going to try and bullshit you and con you out of it. And you have to be aware of that. And when you have that awareness, you're then able to go, no, brain, you're bullshitting me, you stupid thing. You can curse at it if you want. Yeah. But just realize that it's there, and that's what's happening. It's a process. And you have to go through that process. The process is going to happen. So that's why we all been sleeping for a long time. We want to be someone else. We want to move, forward. We want to crack open ourselves and unleash ourselves, right? And step out onto new platforms and expand. But we go to do it, and then we find ourselves in the same habits, and it's because of the identity gap. Okay, so basically all you really need to do is do that anyway. Whatever you want to do,
but that comes
do it
back
anyway.
To the fear, isn't it? That comes back to the fear. And
no, we're talking more about habits. Talking more about habits and believing in who you are as a person, your identity.
But isn't that facing the fear of self? Because I think a lot of us, and this applies to me, and a lot of us have some fear around that better version of ourselves, and that's something that holds us back. And doing it anyway, even if you take the fear out of it, if you're doing it anyway, you're displaying courage. Okay, and courage is acting despite the fear, despite the negative self-talk, despite everything else. You're doing it anyway because you have to. You got to make it a habit, so it doesn't. So it's not a choice.
Sometimes you're just backed into a corner where you have to do it. You have to make it change, right? The universe will pull that trick on you as well.
Yes.
Right, we're going to push you into a corner. It's going to force you to grow. So we're motivated.
Or you can hang around in the corner.
Hang around in the corner. Yeah, you can sit there and wallow.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Sit there and wallow. Process how crappy your current version of life is right now. And know that everything else is possible, but just sit there anyway. And I think it happens a lot, right? And it's like a lack of awareness, maybe a lack of tools, right? Maybe, we've been holding back on expanding or not seeking expanding. But I believe if you openly ask a question to the universe, genuinely with intent, say, okay, show me the way, show me the path, you are going to be given a path, and it's up to you to take it.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. That's true.
You're connected to the whole of Source. It knows you by name, vibration, knows you intimately, knows what you need to get you to where you got to go.
If you want to bring it down a level, though, you can actually have a conversation with your higher self. Like I know you talked about the dream state you're in, where you actually had a face-to-face conversation with your higher self. However, that's a practice that I have employed from time to time. Probably need to do it a bit more. However, you can sit down, as you say, bring yourself down, center yourself, and ask yourself questions, right? And you will get the answer that you need, not necessarily the answer you want, because that's not how the universe works, right? You'll get the answer that you need, and when you get that answer from yourself or the source, the high source, as you say, accessing the muse or however you want to describe it, I think the important part there when you're trying to integrate the answers to those questions is that you observe the response that you have to the answer that you need or didn't want, right? So say you ask a question, does this serve me? Whatever it is, a belief system that doesn't serve you correctly, does this serve me? And you're going to get a pretty simple yes-no answer. Yet you're going to have a emotional reaction or a physical reaction to the answer that you get. And I think paying attention to the reaction is, in a way, more important than paying attention to the answer itself, because that's where you can see where you're actually at. Like if you get angry about something that if you think it does serve you and your higher self says, no, it doesn't, you're like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? But it's the what the fuck moment. It's like, okay, well, why am I being angry about that? Why am I having this reaction to that question? That's where
It's where we get blocked from, progression.
Yeah, but if you pay attention to the reaction, you can therefore analyze the reaction, then work on that from that point of view. You know what I mean? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yep. 100%.
Well, mate, I think we are coming to an end, I think. Those two things that we just said there, I think are both very, very useful and encapsulate a lot of the ideas that we've been talking about. Do you have anything else you'd want to add before we...
I can't emphasize enough how important nutrition is.
That's true.
Because that's basically the major change that I've gone through. I quit yo-yo dieting. So just go back to where we were before with the yo-yo dieting and the identity gap, the snapback effect. Like, I wanted to feel a little bit better, so I go on this little health kick, and then, you start talking to yourself like, okay, I can get away with this, I can get away with that. Next thing it becomes, you're up and down all the time. I had to quit, the up and down, basically. But discipline, yes, to summarize. But nutrition, is absolutely imperative. Something that I've changed is I've changed how I eat. I have started doing intermittent fasting for the last couple of months or so.
Fasting is key. I still fast every day.
Yep. When you're fasting, it can bring out emotions that need to be healed, right? Anything you stop doing that you're sedating yourself with, your energy. A lot of reason why we can't reintegrate with our old tools is because we're too busy like stuffing ourselves with, things we don't need, sedating our own energy. We're leaking our very own energy into things that don't serve us.
Yeah, belief systems. And when you talk about nutrition, like physical nutrition, fasting, the right foods, all that is very, very important. However, you also have a nutrition of your mind. What are you reading? What are you actually inputting into your day?
What are you feeding
what
your
are you
mind?
feeding your mind? Because there's nutrition from that angle as well. And I think if you were to pay attention to both those things, because they're very, very important, eating the right foods and fasting and exercising and using your body, because you need to seat yourself in this dimension properly in a healthy physical form in order to, I think, truly expand in other ways. You know what I mean? I think that's if you are to integrate or reintegrate back to or towards a better version of yourself, being physically healthy is very important, and being mentally healthy is very important. So nutrition from all sides is very, very important, and you need to think about that and employ discipline across all areas.
Yep. Wonderful.
Well, mate, I reckon we pull the Warrior Wisdom book out and see what it's got for us.
Yep. Do it.
All right, I'm going to
Smash
do it
it.
this time. I haven't done it in a little while, but this is the one that I had sitting.
Yeah, I seen it there before.
So, closed eyes. Let's open it up. Oh, that's interesting. When you see a rattlesnake poised to strike, you do not wait until he has struck before you crush him. Reflect on this. Efforts and enemies, if left unfinished, can both ravage you like an unextinguished fire. That's actually, both of those things in that order are actually pretty poignant.
Yeah. Cool.
You must take action, and if you leave efforts or enemies unfinished, both can ravage you like an unextinguished fire.
So it reminded me of something that I heard. So I think it was a Roman proverb, but, it's heavily westernized now, been around everywhere. But, when we're walking, we actually strike with the heel first.
Yes.
So you think that forward motion, you might be the very furthest, part of you, your toes might be striking the ground first because you're walking forward, but you're actually striking from the heel first. And some people put a lot of deep thinking into that and, realized how we actually move through life. It's not always like that. Sometimes you've made more ground than you're willing to admit to yourself.
Yes.
And it hasn't necessarily been in the way that you expected it was going to happen.
It really actually
it's
is.
Unconsciously, you got to where you needed to be and you found the tools. You just need to go out there and do it. Go out and smash it.
Smash it. Get after it. I just want to read this because it actually is quite interesting. When you start something, finish it. Don't leave anything undone. The warrior must strive for excellence in all he does. He must give his best all the time, every time. Tiruvalluvar is trying to stress the importance of this in the above quote, which is, reflect on this. Efforts and enemies, if left unfinished, can both ravage you like an unextinguished fire. Warriors realise the importance of making sure that your enemy is completely defeated before you stop your attack, but by combining effort and enemies in the same category, Tiruvalluvar is demanding that we look beyond our enemy to the bigger picture. You must grapple with the fact that your lack of effort and attention can derail your goals on the path of the warrior, just as unfinished enemy can overturn your victory during a physical confrontation. The warrior lifestyle requires both attention to details and constant effort in order to make it part of your being. Without the proper effort towards this lofty goal, it will remain unattainable. Finish what you start. Don't leave things halfway done. Anything worth doing is doing well. Whether you are getting a hard workout or going head-to-head with a dangerous adversary, stay focused to the end. Niccolo Machiavelli taught this in the book The Prince, that you should never leave an enemy standing. When you have a fire to put out, make sure you leave no danger of it reigniting. Give some thought to this.
Wow.
I
There you
can't.
go.
There you go.
Just
man.
read that book out loud one day. That's a podcast.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, mate, thank you very, very much for coming out tonight. You helped me more than you can understand just through our conversation, and I just really appreciate it, man.
I've got so much out of tonight as well. Thank you so much for having me on. Thanks for letting me share my voice with your amazing listeners.
That's all right, man. That's really cool. Well, mate, until next time.
Right, till we meet again.
Thanks, man. Talk soon.